This episode of Vintage Stormfront Freaks has been previously recorded.
Tonight, our guest is Greg Johnson, storm chaser and star of the Tornado Hunters TV series. Greg Johnson is one of America's top professional storm chasers and severe weather experts, and is also an accomplished photographer, speaker, and workshop leader, having graduated from Canada's renowned Acadia University. With over 10 years of experience, Johnson enjoys chasing classic prairie and lightning storms, tornadoes, hurricanes, blizzards, and plans to continue traveling the world year-round to satisfy his appetite for capturing extreme weather. Greg was selected as one of Canada's top 100 explorers by Canada Geographic magazine. And to freelance on his bio a little bit, he's a fine human being, a really great photographer, and I'd like to say he's one of my favorite follows on Twitter. So, Greg.
Back at you, Sander. Back at you.
So, Greg, to get this started with the interview part of this, just explain why storm chasing. There are 100 different hobbies one could choose from or passions. What brought you to storm chasing?
Well, I've always been a photographer, and when I moved to the Canadian prairies, if you go to Minot, North Dakota, and then you go about 3 hours north of that, that's where I live. And when I moved out here, I had never actually seen a real, honest to God thunderstorm any time in my life. And then when I got to the prairies and saw my first thunderstorm, of course, I fell in love with it. And, I had a business doing wedding photography and, baby photos. And, hold on a second. I just had to get that taste out of my mouth. And when I had this opportunity back in 2010 to sell my business, and it gave me an opportunity. I basically bought a couple years of free time, and nice. And I thought, what am I going to do? And just the way things worked out, my first year, chasing, actually trying to make a living doing it, was 2010. It was a busy year. And then in 2011, of course, I was at Joplin, and Joplin was, for a lot of people, myself included, it was a game changer, and kind of took what I was doing, as a hobby, as a way to make a few bucks. It turned it into a career, and just right place, right time, I guess.
Yeah. Wow. That's amazing. So why did you go north to begin with, into the prairie area? You just wanted to go up there near the storms, or what?
Well, actually, I grew up in Ontario, in Eastern Canada, and I moved out to the prairies for totally unrelated reasons. I moved out here for the game of hockey.
Oh, wow.
And the whole hockey thing lasted just a few years and didn't pan out, and so I moved on to photography, and then I guess the rest, as they say, is history.
Okay. I think a lot of people think of Canada, they don't think of thunderstorms.
Yeah, and you know what? We get them just the same way. I always say that what you see in West Kansas, in Western Nebraska, what you see there is exactly what we get. The only difference is our season is only about 8 weeks long, and so when it happens on the Canadian prairies, believe me, it's every bit as photogenic, every bit as dangerous, every bit as, everything that you would expect in Oklahoma and Kansas. The difference is it's only a few weeks long, but no chaser convergence ever.
Really?
Yeah. I mean,
what are the road networks up there like?
Well, that's the best part, Phil, is that, frankly, and no offense intended to the Western Plains, but we have a better road network. We have I think a much better cell coverage.
Wow.
And you don't get there's this thing that goes on, and Sandra, you'll know what I'm talking about when you're in a real well forecast chase day on the plains, where there's thousands of chasers all drawing bandwidth from those cell towers. You literally at times can't even get onto Twitter.
Yeah.
Wow.
And when we come up here and when we're chasing up north, you don't get that convergence of chasers. And so pretty much anywhere we go in Western Canada, we can stream, we can access weather data and all that kind of stuff. So it's actually a great place to chase. But, you know, because the season's so short, some years we have incredible storm seasons, and other years we don't get much at all.
Yeah, you know, the big thing with chasing up there that I mean, you about the bandwidth. Phil experienced that on May 26th this year down in southern Oklahoma, and we just had a moment there where we lost bandwidth. But the thing I've noticed about chasing up in Canada is that the storms up there just have the landscape, I guess, is just so green during the summer is the best way to put it. So they just contrast so well photographically. Greg, what's your favorite storm chase ever in Canada? Like, what is the one that tops them all?
Well, we had a big year in 2012 when we had, I think, if I remember correctly, I think there was more tornadoes in 2012 in Saskatchewan than they had in Oklahoma in 2012. And so we had some really good photogenic tornadoes where we were, you know, super close. I'm saying within 200 yards. And we were able to live stream them. And so it was an incredible experience. July 24th. And that's the other thing too. We're much later in the season. So it's not like you have to make a decision whether we're going north or going south. Just, you know, that season moves north throughout the spring and summer. And by the time July's rolled around, all of our American friends have run out of cash for storm chasing. And so, you know, there's Roger Hills and a few of the tour groups that come across the border, but generally we're on our own.
So tell me a little bit, Greg, if I think most people are starting to become more familiar with you because of the Tornado Trackers series, which now is on Netflix. And I think people are catching that. I'm seeing some people here chatting in on YouTube talking about that as well, and that they enjoy that. I guess give me a little background to how that came about. How'd you get that set up?
Oh man, so I'm going to say my whole career storm chasing has been sort of serendipity. It's all been about being at the right place at the right time. In 2012, we made this goofy YouTube video, and if you go to our channel, you'll be able to find it. It was like a Rocky training montage video, right? Early spring, and you know, we did the whole, you know, boxing rings thing and the whole deal. And we ended up getting a phone call from a couple production companies actually saying, you know, would we be interested in filming a TV show? So in 2013, we filmed a few pilot episodes, and the first episode that we were filming, again, just right place, right time, was El Reno. And
wow.
you know, we ended up getting hit by the tornado at El Reno, and we were on the south side. The video is quite impressive. There's a barn that literally explodes next to us, flies over the truck and the whole thing. Well, we have a film crew on board filming a pilot episode of a TV show.
Oh my gosh.
I think you're going to get it.
Yeah. So, I mean, at that point we said, hey, if we don't get a TV show out of this experience, there's no tornado TV show to be had, because I mean, this is the largest tornado ever recorded. You know, all the drama that went on, and you know, the real scary downside with Twist X and you know, here we have a production crew. I mean, we thought we weren't going to get it, maybe because he goes, oh, whoa, hold on a second.
Yeah, the risk.
Yeah. So, but as it turned out, it was right place at the right time. And then, you know, again, right after that, we're filming the first season, and we get the Pilger twin tornadoes that you see on the screen behind me. And
it's a great shot.
Yeah. And so at that point, you know, it was pretty much a done deal. And, you know, we were pretty thrilled about how everything went. But if any of you have actually had a chance to watch the show, the thing I'm most proud of is that it's not tornado after tornado after tornado. There's a lot of really shitty down days. There's a lot of making the wrong decision. And, you know, instead of going north to Simla, Colorado, you know, we stayed south. history will show that was a bad decision. So, so we do try to show that side of it as well.
Yeah, it was. I agree. It was, Greg. It was a good depiction of the true life of a storm chaser, which isn't always. You get to see tornadoes all the time, and half the time it's at the end of the day, and you're like, God, I got to make something out of this damn storm that's now leaving.
Yeah.
I got to get a lightning shot out of this or something, right?
Because Greg, what
Yeah, yeah.
is that? Was that the most dangerous position you've been in? You think, or have you?
El Reno?
Yeah.
Oh, by far. I mean,
Okay.
I can honestly say I've never felt once that my life was at risk other than in El Reno. And in El Reno, not just that our life was at risk. I mean, I felt really stupid, to be honest with you. I mean, I think anybody who was there that day who got into a nasty situation kind of said to themselves, what the hell am I doing here? Like how did I put myself in such a bad situation? We thought that we did everything right, from having our right access to get to the storm, to being able to exit properly. We thought we did everything right. And,
yeah, you weren't alone on that. There were other chasers, the same thing. Yeah.
Yeah. And I guess, and I mean, on the one side of it, there's a bit of a pride associated with, man, I've been inside the biggest tornado ever recorded. On the other side of it is, I got 4 kids.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Right?
So how did you after that episode, did that happen? Did you consider maybe changing careers, or just not at all? Huh? Yeah, 4 kids. I'll keep doing it.
Oh my God! Listen, Kim, that was probably the point where we went, oh my God, I gotta get back there. Like I gotta get to that spot again, and not so much in terms of El Reno, but just in terms of anybody who's ever gone storm chasing knows the feeling where it can be a tube, 6 miles in the distance in the dark that you only see when the lightning flashes, but you're like, we got it, right? Yeah. And I don't think, outside of storm chasing, I don't think anybody can appreciate what goes in. Like, you drive 800 miles in one day, so you can see this, dark cloud on the horizon in the lightning. I mean, it's an amazing feeling. And I know the rest of the world thinks we're idiots, but that's fine.
That's got to be a weird thing, though, to come out of the gate on your pilot episode with such a huge tornado. I mean, at one point, I would think, like, you're probably thinking, well, how do I keep going from here? I mean, you can't top that.
Up to that point, my favorite storm chase had been April 14th of 2012, and we were at Great Bend, Kansas, and that tornado was, I think photogenically, maybe one of the best that's ever been. We followed that up in 2013 with El Reno, and then 2014 we had Pilger. And at Pilger, you go, okay, no, really, I want 2 of them on the ground at the same time. And that's never going to happen. And, just sort of see, and then 2016, I mean, Dodge City, Kansas. I don't know Chris, does it get better than Dodge City, Kansas? Like, ever?
Well, I'm still bitter about that day, since I was on TV duty and was not at Dodge City. So it does get better than Dodge City, Greg, because I've seen Dodge is the absolute top end of a storm chase you could have. It really is. It's like slow moving, multiple tornado after tornado, incredible.
Nobody.
So he just rubbed it in. Thanks
no injuries, no critical damage or anything. It was great.
So tell me, Greg, a little bit about so you're talking about El Reno, then you go to Pilger, and now you're like, okay, so what are we doing? And I heard you mention a little bit in the TV series, because this is the truth. We talked about this on one of our episodes, is what do you as a storm chaser have to do to keep improving? Because the chasers are getting better, the video's getting better, the photography's getting better. What's your next step of going, hey, I got to take it up another level? What are you looking at for 2018?
You're absolutely right about technology and stuff. I mean, I don't know that there's a whole lot more that you can do without doing Niagara Falls, put yourself in a barrel and go over the falls, like
Yeah.
you know, actually like purposely putting yourself in danger.
All right, so let's get back to this. So, Greg, I was just asking you about what are your plans for 2018? How are you going to up the game and compete with all the great photos and video and different kinds of equipment being used?
Well, I mean, listen, I don't know that there's much more left out there to do other than, getting in the right spot and taking great pictures. I mean, we've converted to 4K video, and I think a lot of people have done that, and hopefully great streaming opportunities. But at the end of the day, we really don't have anybody to impress anymore, other than impressing ourselves and getting out there and getting great shots. I mean, it seems like every year, no matter what happens, there's wonderful shots to be had. But I don't know that there's like this new technology that's gonna change the world or change the game at all. But
Still, 4K.
I don't know.
would
What
look
about you,
great.
Chris? What are you going to be doing? 4K would look amazing.
Yeah.
Actually, I honestly don't have any plans to change much from last year. So I'm keeping it steady as she goes. Nothing too new.
Yeah.
So it's just as I've always said, the two things that will never change are telling good stories and showing great pictures. And if you can do both those things, you're going to be successful if you're creating content. So that's kind of the plan. That's the hope, at least. Keep creating great stories and good visual content, and hopefully people will dig it.
Sounds
Hopefully.
like a winner.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, as far as content's concerned, my goal every storm chase year is to get enough photos, get enough video that I can sustain myself through December, January, and February, and make it through to the next season with some original content still.
Good.
So tell us, so where are you at with the Tornado Hunters TV series? Is that still a thing? Are there more than season 1 out there?
Well, we're on Netflix now, which is exciting, and there's been discussions with Netflix, but I'll put it out there publicly on your show that we don't have a deal yet for season 2. So, I mean, we'll see. Don't know. Always keep hoping every time the phone rings that's what it's about, is an opportunity for a new season. But so far, we don't have any deal.
Well, hey, Netflix is growing every day.
Yeah, it is.
So.
Yeah, I mean, and it reaches a huge audience, and when we had the on Netflix, we had a good core audience, people that cared about the show, cared about us. But as soon as it hit Netflix, it was really a game changer, because there was this whole new group of people that I'm going to say weren't even Storm fans. They were just, they went on Netflix and saw trending and clicked on this goofy show about idiots driving after tornadoes, and they seem to fall in love with it. So we're hopeful that there's a good enough audience that they're going to want another episode or another season.
All right, I'll be looking for it. I'm on Netflix
me
all the
too.
time.
All right.
Netflix is great, though. You could see, like, you don't even need regular cable or satellite. You could just get Netflix. It's great.
Yeah, right. Cheap
Yeah,
for a lot of people.
and the thing is, in the same way that I think we all use Netflix and YouTube the same way, that things that we didn't even know we were looking for. We find things that we didn't know we would care about. For a lot of people, that's what's happened with our show anyway.
Great. Good luck.
Here's a question for you. Since you live in Canada, has it ever happened that you were chasing a tornado that crossed into the U.S. and you had to cross the border?
God, that would have taken forever.
Yeah.
It would have dissipated.
Sorry, I didn't catch the question. Sorry about that.
Oh, okay. That's okay. Has it ever happened that you were chasing a tornado, let's say in Canada or maybe in the U.S., and it crossed the border?
Yeah,
and
yeah.
You had to cross the border with it?
Yeah.
Really?
It happens all the time, actually. And what's really cool is that at the border, we of course need passports to get across, but during tornado season, especially when there's actual physical tornado warnings in place, border guards on both sides of the border, they look at the vehicle. We've been through there 1,000 times, and they just literally will wave us through.
That's scary too.
That is
Yeah,
scary.
God, we better not broadcast
Yeah,
that.
let's cut that. Let's cut that.
Have Homeland Security after us. Okay.
All right, tonight we have Kim Cunningham. Now, Kim is a motivational speaker and a communications coach for Speechworks, but you probably know her best from the Weather Channel. She's been on the Weather Channel for 25 years. She's got a 30-year career as a meteorologist. She was the first woman to be used as a tropical, severe, and winter weather expert. And she was part of the Air Force. And she was a forecaster and weather observer. And she specialized in severe and tropical weather. So, Kim, like if you have ever watched the Weather Channel, you would have seen Kim.
Yes.
Yes.
Awesome.
So, and she got to do like all the great stuff with being part of the expert team and the first woman to really do that and be able to do all the different topics, severe, tropical, winter. So Kim, it's so glad to have you. But you know what I don't know, Kim, is like, how did you ever get into weather?
Well, we
That's a
have to
great
go
question.
back, and I know some of you guys are from Ohio, and
Yay.
you-
No.
well, I don't know if I'm a big Ohio State fan, but I will say I am for right now. I don't know, you guys probably remember back in the 70s. Well, you guys probably don't because you're too young.
No.
But the 74 outbreak,
Thank you.
super outbreak, that is where I got my start. But I actually, and a lot of you guys probably love The Wizard of Oz, just like I
Yes.
do. And that tornado is still, to me, the best tornado scene ever. No matter, Twister, all these other movies. I swear, The Wizard of Oz tornado, which was a rug, by the way.
Oh my
Is the
God.
best.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's a rug, and it's
It's not very accurate.
well.
Oh, what a poo-pooer.
It's Shag.
Who's the millennial poo-pooing on the
No,
whole
it's not
thing?
very accurate.
So watching that tornado, I was amazed and just in awe and just thought it was the coolest thing ever. Even though it scared me, I wanted to learn more about tornadoes and then I actually got to see the F5 that hit Cincinnati back in 1974.
Wow.
So that came within about 2 miles of my parents' house, and we were in the basement praying and crying, and we could hear it. We didn't actually get hit by it, but we had a lot of debris in our yard, and we had softball-sized hail before it. So it was really traumatic, but it was, to me, exciting. My family, they were scared. They thought it was horrible. I thought it was horrible too, but at the same time, I was in awe and wanted to learn more about tornadoes. And at that moment decided, hey, there's actually a career where you can study tornadoes. So that's what I decided to do back in 1974. And I set my path since at that point, I took all the math and science courses I could in high school.
Nice.
Joined the Air Force because I wrote to some meteorologists in Cincinnati, and they were all men. And I said, hey, how'd you guys get your degree, or how'd you get your start in meteorology? And one guy wrote me back, Mike Fenwick, and said, I actually got it through the Air Force. And so that's what I did. I joined the Air Force and got my training in the Air Force. And then I went on to get my degree in meteorology from Creighton University when I was stationed at Offutt Air Force Base. And then after that, I went to the Weather Channel.
Creighton, Nebraska, Creighton?
Yes, Creighton.
I used to live out there too. I grew up in Omaha. Very cool.
Yeah, I loved Omaha. I mean, I thought Omaha was a cool little town. The old market area.
Got some good steaks.
Great steak.
Got some
Great
good steaks.
steak.
The steaks are great. Yeah, I love the steaks.
Are great. I loved it there. Of course, I tornado chased when I was out there too, so that was even better.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Oh my God, that's so awesome. What was the job market like when you graduated or actually left the Air Force?
That's a good question, Jen, because when I decided I had like 6 months left in the Air Force, and I just graduated college. And I thought, okay, what do I do? I'll send out some resumes. Do I re-enlist in the military? I'll have to move around again, or do I, get feelers for, the civilian world? So I sent out resumes, and back then, don't forget, we didn't have internet.
It's true.
We didn't have anything other than you looked in the paper, you looked through the AMS journals or whatever to see who was hiring. And I remember I sent applications to Australia.
Wow,
And
that's
actually
awesome.
a balloon
Oh my gosh.
company, somebody that they set up balloons. I mean, there was not much.
Yeah.
So the Weather Channel had just started maybe a few years before that. And of course, I was mesmerized. I watched it all the time. Cheryl Lemke, she was somebody I watched all the time. And of course, Cantori. And I thought, I'm just going to send them one. I'm going to send them a resume. So I did. And they immediately called me and brought me in for an interview and said, hey, we want you to start here. And I said, okay, well, I still have 6 months left in the Air Force, but they actually talked to my commander. They went through the higher ranks and they let me out early.
Wow.
So I could go work at the Weather Channel.
Oh my God, that's awesome.
But
That's
there
cool.
wasn't much. There was not much out there. And if you try to get an on-camera job, it was even more difficult right out of college. So, National Weather Service, I thought, I did military, I did government work, for 9 years. Do I want to go the National Weather Service route? It was an option, but I, at that moment, was like, I want to try something different.
Wow,
So when are you
that's
going
so
back to the Air Force for the last 6 months? You owe them.
I kept waiting for them.
They never forget.
Oh, she's gonna get a call tomorrow.
I know.
So
Oh,
hey,
gosh.
since we're on the Air Force, one of your roles, Kim, had something to do with you forecasted the entire southern hemisphere. Is that right?
Yes.
So I guess tell me a little bit. What did that include? What did you have to do every day, and who was that helping? What was the purpose of that?
Well, that's when I worked at Global Weather Central at Offutt Air Force Base. And I was in the tropical weather section, and we were responsible for the tropics. So basically 25 north all the way through the southern hemisphere.
Wow.
So we were responsible for looking at tropical weather, basically thunderstorms. We were looking for tropical systems, typhoons, hurricanes, whatever. We had to monitor that area and give information to the Joint Typhoon Warning Center in Guam. So we were kind of like the watch agency. We would put out a product every day that would indicate areas of thunderstorms for, say, some of our planes were flying over the ocean, trying to get somewhere. They would know where the thunderstorms were. Because remember, back then, we didn't have the data we have today. We literally, this is no lie, we literally analyzed satellite data on film over a light table.
No.
Wow.
Yeah. That's how we did it. And then we forecasted it out.
Wow.
So that's how we did it back then.
I was wondering what kind of data you had back there and what you had available to you in the Air Force.
Yeah.
So it's just satellite data? Just
satellite data back then. And that was it. And then SSMI data, microwave imagery, was just becoming, it was really coming into fruition and just becoming, we were doing research on that. So that's when you started using microwave imagery to actually look at tropical systems and to see, you could tell the wind speeds because of the actual foam that was on top of the water from how strong the winds were. So that was all starting to happen too at the same time, but it was mainly just looking at just regular old GOES-8 satellite data and forecasting it out, just moving it forward or, just trying to make a good forecast. But actually we did pretty good.
Wow.
Kim, I heard that if you miss a forecast at global weather, you lose rank, which is why I didn't go in, by the way.
Is that right? Oh,
Is that true?
I wish they were still around, but they're not. They're really not that entity anymore there. But they were pretty hard on us because they had to be, because we were responsible for multi-million-dollar aircraft and ships, and so they had to be tough on us.
Wow, that's crazy.
Did you what kind of training with the camera?
For on camera?
Yeah.
I had none.
Is that something you always,
And the Weather Channel, I was there for 6 years, well, actually probably 4 years before they asked me if I wanted to try the apprentice program, where they actually assigned a mentor and I would work with them, on the weekends or whenever I could. And I would just go in front of a camera and record and then present it to my supervisor, who would look at it and say, well, we don't think you're ready just yet, because they wanted me on camera. And I thought, well, I've done 9 years military. I've done 6 years behind the scenes. I was a senior meteorologist at the Weather Channel. I've gone as far as I could without getting into higher management. And I thought this might be a good transition for me to do something where I'm communicating the weather. So when they offered that, I thought, yeah, I'm going to try that. So I worked hard. I worked on the weekends. And they finally let me in the apprentice program, which I was on at 2 o'clock in the morning.
Mm-hmm.
And I would work like a 10-hour shift. And then you know how it is, you guys, when you want something, you do it.
Yeah.
And I thought, okay, I'm going to do this. And I worked hard for 10 hours, the meteorologist behind the scenes, and then practiced or went in front of the camera at 2 o'clock in the morning with Dave Schwartz.
Oh,
Oh
Dave.
my God.
Yes, he was my mentor, and we just had a blast, and I just learned so much from him on communicating the weather. So that's how it started. And then they eventually hired me full-time in 97 to go from behind the scenes to in front of the camera. And that's it. Never did local.
So I'm going to throw in a listener or viewer actually question here online from Barry Gray. Says, who was your favorite on-air co-host?
I can't answer that.
Come on, you're not working there anymore. Come on.
I'm still friends with a lot of people there. But I will tell you this, Eric. I will tell you that I enjoyed working with every single person there. And Dina will tell you, and Jen will tell you, most of the people there, I would say 90% of the people there are top-notch, fun professionals. And every person I worked with, I thought it was pretty flexible. I was able to work with a lot of different people, and we both were able to draw out the good things in each other. And I just feel like, I don't know if I could actually say I had one favorite person, but I do think there were so many good people that I could say most of them were my favorites. I don't know. I liked working with everybody.
Thanks, Congresswoman.
It's true.
Hey, Kim, because you said when you started there, Cheryl Lemke was on. So how many women, I think maybe Vivian Brown, how many women were there on camera?
When I started there, all these people, you probably won't know that they left soon after I got there. So Lisa Spencer was one. I don't know if you remember Lisa Spencer, Janetta Jones.
Janetta, yep.
Sharon Resulton, Christina Abernathy. There were, probably 6 or 7 that were on camera at the time.
Wow, that's not bad.
Yeah, it's not.
Yeah, it wasn't. It was really, and what's really amazing too is that Lisa Spencer was probably like the first woman on national television who was pregnant. I mean, it actually showed, went through her pregnancy on TV.
Good for her.
And then after that, we all were pregnant with twins.
Twins.
That just started it all.
Yes.
Yes.
Well,
So,
hey, while
Kim,
we're
I
on that
see-
topic, Kim, I want to ask you because I think you're a good role model for women in television meteorology. What were some of the challenges for women meteorologists in TV when you were starting in the industry compared to what you think they are today? Are they better, worse, the same? What are your thoughts on that?
Oh, I know, I just lost my earbud. I think when I first when I went to the Weather Channel, as I just, we talked about, there were already like 5 or 6 women on camera. And so I was impressed actually at the time that there were that many women already on camera in a male-dominated field. So, and I felt like they got equal treatment from what I could tell, because I wasn't actually on camera when I first got there. But I do think it's come a long way. And I think just the fact that I was actually, able to be on TV and use my skills as a tropical severe weather specialist has come a long way too. But I do think it's come a long way. And even when I was in the Air Force, it was the same thing, where when I first started, there weren't many women at all in the military, for one. 2, being in a science field in meteorology, there weren't many either. So when I left the Air Force, there definitely was an increase in the number of women.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So Kim, so I've had the privilege of working with Kim. I was her weather producer for some of the time while she was there. And she is just a badass meteorologist, just to say
Yeah.
that, because she really is.
Whoa!
So we would,
Whoa. Just because we're live now doesn't mean you can all go crazy, all right? Come on.
like sometimes we would have like an 8-9 minute block to fill, and she
Yeah.
just was like, I've got this. This is ain't no thing. And she brushed her shoulder off and she would go on air. And you were amazing. And you were amazing, Kim.
Oh, you too. I mean, for what you guys do behind the scenes, I mean, we have to talk about that too, because I mean, if you guys only knew what these people have to do behind the scenes to give us information to be able to talk about. I mean, you guys are amazing. You and Dina and everybody else behind the scenes. So we couldn't have done it without you guys. That's for sure.
Thanks,
Yeah,
Kim.
Yeah, thanks,
You know
Kim.
it.
You're amazing. But so what's your favorite weather? Is it tropical or
Oh,
is it
I was going to
like-
ask that question. Dang it.
It's severe. You know, I have to say, I love tropical weather. I love it all, but
Yeah.
severe, just because it started out with tornadoes. And actually at one point, my goal was to be a research meteorologist in tornadoes and to find out why tornadoes form. That was a big thing for me. So you know, after I left the Weather Channel, I thought, you know, maybe I'd go back to school. You know, I had all these thoughts about what I was going to do, but I decided a different chapter in my life. But yeah, definitely severe. Tornadoes, hail, all that stuff is my favorite. That gets my adrenaline going the most.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Me too. Did
Kim,
you
what
ever
kind of
get
steered you? What kind of? Go ahead.
No. Go ahead, Brady.
Okay. What? Because I think there's a lot of people that are deciding between going to National Weather Service, going to research, or going to TV. What kind of steered you away from research and National Weather Service? You know, what were some of the signs you saw in your own head that were like, I want to do this, and this is what I want to do?
Well, I think
You know.
what happened was, I think the path that I took initially, starting out in the Air Force, and that I thought, well, I'll try to go to college. And it was hard trying to get my degree anywhere because, for one, back then there weren't many meteorology schools. So I had to make my way to a college or an Air Force base that was near a college where I could actually go to school. And I was very fortunate when I went to, I was in forecasting school at Shute Air Force Base, and they said, okay, whoever has the highest GPA at the end of forecasting school, you get to pick what Air Force base you want to go to.
Oh.
So, you know, everybody's, you know, they're trying hard to get the highest GPA because they want to be stationed, you know, at long, maybe Myrtle Beach area. They want to go to, you know, the Destin area. And I was like, I want to go to Offutt Air Force Base in Nebraska.
That's right.
I said, no, because Creighton University is there and they've got it. They have a program in atmospheric science. So I worked hard and I actually got the highest GPA and picked Offutt Air Force Base. So they did offer a master's degree there. But again, I came to that crossroads where I thought, you know, I don't know what I want to do. Do I, you know, try this? I don't know. So it just, something told me at the moment not to go that route. So I honestly don't know if it was anything other than what came up at the moment.
You are still a Nebraska Cornhusker fan, aren't you?
No, I do root for them when I can. I actually went to one of their games, and that I was amazed at that. You know, there was just unbelievable. I was the only one that was wearing black. Everybody else had red on.
You started black shirts, didn't you? Wasn't that you?
Mm-hmm.
All right, nobody gets that unless you're a Nebraska fan. Thanks. All right.
Oh, that went right over my head.
Yeah.
I know. So, Kim, did you ever get to fly into hurricanes or anything tropical systems?
No. You know, this was the bummer too, because when I became a sergeant, when I got promoted to a sergeant, I had the opportunity to actually, before that, to fly with the hurricane hunters to actually go and work there, because back then they actually used airmen. Okay, They didn't use non-commissioned officers. So I, at one point, was able to rank-wise go fly with the hurricane hunters, but I made rank. I made staff sergeant, and at that time they weren't allowing NCOs or non-commissioned officers to fly or to go with the hurricane hunters. They were taking only commissioned officers. So that's where it all changed for me. So I was like, okay, I can't do it, but I wanted to.
Yeah.
That's one thing I didn't do, and I never really have been through a hurricane. So, you know, maybe that I would change my mind about what I love better, hurricanes or
That's true. That's very true. I've never actually like chased a hurricane. You don't really chase it. You just get to a location and let it come to you.
Yes.
It's like taking a charge in basketball. You just
Yeah.
let it plow you over.
Exactly.
Oh.
And I don't know if I would like that or not. Like I would get sick of it after 30 minutes. Then I'm like, I'm stuck. I can't get out. It's a hurricane. And then you're there for 7
Or
days.
yeah, with no power, no food, no water. There's
Yeah.
it wouldn't that would not
That was
be
a
fun.
5-day chase.
There's water. It's
is what
just
it
in your
becomes.
living room.
Yeah.
I know, exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
So since we're talking storms, Kim, I'm curious, what are some of your favorite or and maybe sometimes shouldn't say favorite because they can be very devastating. But as far as storms, what were some of the biggest storms or best storms that you remember covering?
Oh my gosh. Well, we'll start out with with the Weather Channel anyway, with Hurricane Andrew, because I had only been at the Weather Channel for a year. So I was working behind the scenes, and John Hope, that was quite a night. And I remember just seeing how scared John Hope was. And when I saw him scared, I knew this was going to be really bad. So Andrew is definitely in my mind. Of course, Superstorm Sandy, which we all lived through. And that was an amazing storm. I've actually, this is kind of a neat piece of trivia. You know, Norman, Oklahoma, or Moore, Oklahoma, has been hit by, at least 3 F5 or EF5 tornadoes. I was on the air every time they got hit by an F5 or EF5.
Wow. That's scary.
Wow,
I can't even
luck.
imagine.
Every time.
Wow. Yeah.
So that one is a biggie, especially the, it was 99.
Yeah, May 3rd.
Where the 99 one was the big one. And I was, that was the first time I was on the air at the Weather Channel. And it was the first time we actually had it, that we were showing a live tornado. And I remember going on the air, looking at a radar and seeing the hook and talking about it. And then looking over, because I'm looking at the monitor, it's like, oh my gosh, there it is. And it was just a weird connection. It's like you never really saw the connection between the real thing that you're seeing live and then the actual radar. So that was a moment in my life that I'll never forget either. It's like seeing the radar return. It was just kind of an amazing thing to see as a meteorologist. So that was horrifying. And then the last one they had was also horrible, because Kelly Cass and I were on the air with that one when the school got hit. And just when they panned back and showed this huge, monstrous, EF5 tornado, just took our breaths away. And it just reminded me of the 99 tornado. And I knew then, it was like, when you see that big old wedge like that, people are dying, it's horrible and it's awful. So the more tornadoes, definitely, gosh, there were so many. I mean, over 25 years.
What about Katrina? How was that?
Katrina was huge. Katrina, that whole year, I was working First Outlook. I was on early in the morning from like 4 to 7 a.m. And it seemed like Rita, Wilma maybe, and I know Katrina all hit made landfall right when we were getting off work, Nick Walker and I. And so we kind of brought it in, and then we left when it made landfall. But Katrina was, absolutely horrible. Just especially living that afterwards and staying at the Weather Channel for a long time after I got off work, because who can leave when that's happening? Yeah. And when we were getting reports about the levees, then your heart started sinking. You thought, oh, maybe we made it through the worst of it. Then we're like, oops, there go the levees. Yeah. And that's when it all started. And, that's when really the Weather Channel, I think, we shine a lot, but that was, seeing Stephanie and Jim and Bettis, all those people out there during Katrina was just an amazing thing to see these guys out there and helping people too.
I think that's the one time too, like, because I was there with you, but that you saw the like we stayed for a long time afterwards.
Right.
Like you saw the aftermath and you kept seeing the aftermath, and you thought it got worse, and then it got worse, and then it got more worse. And I think that was a big life changer for me.
Yes. Yeah, I definitely agree with that. That was, and then Rita after, it was just one after another. That was an incredible year. That whole year was just, we were exhausted. Everybody was exhausted.
Yeah.
That was quite a year. But
That's the only time I ever remember us getting into names with the Greek letters.
yes.
Yeah. And it going into the next year, like, didn't we
January?
go into, January. I'm like, oh my God. Enough.
So what, Kim, what's keeping you busy today? What are you up to, and what are your plans here in the future?
Well, of course, I keep my hand in weather as much as I can, still checking the models and all that. But I, kind of making a change and went with more of a communication, helping people communicate better, especially if they're in a situation where they have to present in front of a committee or in front of their peers. So I work for this company called SpeechWorks, and we work one-on-one with people, or we actually work in groups and just, coach them and try to get them to be better persuasive speakers. And it's very fascinating. What I love about it really is that I work with so many different companies like Coca-Cola, Home Depot, and some of their executives and, higher management. And you get to hear what's going on in these companies. I mean, it's just really fascinating. I learned so much about these companies. But of course, I love weather and miss weather. But it's just, it's working for me right now. So
you know what it sounds like? It sounds like you need some kind of weather outlet, like a podcast, to be a part of, where you can talk weather every couple of weeks.
Do you know of any?
Wait, Phil, what's a podcast?
Yeah.
I've never heard of
I would love to, you guys, anytime.
Thank you for tuning in to the Stormfront Freaks podcast. You can watch our bi-weekly show live on youtube.com/stormfrontfreaks and download the audio version on your favorite podcast player. For links to our Patreon team of exclusive benefits, show notes, past shows, new videos, merchandise, and more, visit our website at stormfrontfreaks.com. While you're there, check out our interactive chaser radar from our friends at zoomradar.com. If you'd like to contact us with questions or make comments about the show, shoot us an email to questions@stormfrontfreaks.com or follow us on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, or TikTok. Search for Stormfront Freaks. We'd love to hear from you. Join us next time and tell a friend about the Stormfront Freaks podcast.